Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne Williams with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I want to show y'all, sorry the lighting's not going to be like this the whole time, but I want to show y'all how to use Super Sheen as a dye repel in your leatherworking. So let's get started. On this project I have tooled with a textured beveler all around the design. And there will be links to like the pattern and everything on my Etsy, but you could do this technique with any design. That's not the important part. But we've done our beveling, all of the tooling's finished. And so I'm just going to come through with a round paintbrush and this EcoFlow Super Sheen, which is an acrylic based finish. And I'm just going to be dipping my brush in there. If you have any colors or anything or worried about contamination, you can use a palette or like the cap of the bottle. And I'm just going to go through, and it feels kind of like painting with water. But you can see here how it makes the leather darker. I mean, it's very faint. And some people don't much care for Super Sheen because they say it gives it like a plasticky surface. I've never had that problem. But you could use Liquitex brand things. There are all kinds of, I don't know if Tandy Leather still carries it, but they had like just EcoFlow Blockout. There's a lot of different products that you can use, so be sure to do some research, but the technique is basically the same. So we just go through and paint. This is almost the way that you would apply painter's tape if you were actually painting. So keep in mind, anywhere that you put it on, it is going to repel. Anywhere that you don't put it is going to soak up our stain. So I'm just trying to be consistent. However I end up doing it, I just want to be consistent. And also I try to be probably a little bit more generous with it. But again, just be consistent. So if you're globbing it on everywhere to try to get even coverage. But I really like this stuff because it just penetrates the leather really well. You could also use what's it? I never pronounce it correctly, but Fibings acrylic resin, very similar to Super Sheen. And I believe Super Sheen actually even has different intensities now where you can get like, a matte finish or a shiny finish or a high gloss, like they've got different terms and stuff, but that way, if you don't want to risk any kind of shininess at all, you can select different products. And I'm actually going to go through and do 2 coats of this. So I gotta remember I started back here. So I'm going to go all the way around our edges. Trying to work quickly, but with intention. I don't want to risk dropping the Super Sheen onto my work surface by having, an overloaded brush and having it fall somewhere where I don't want it repelled. If that happens, there are products on the market called deglazers that you could use, but really I prefer to not use them if I can help it. But this is a very beginner-friendly technique that can get some really cool results. And is also a great warm-up practice for if you're going to be going through with acrylic paint later on other pieces. Because, I don't know. I mean, really the end result, if you mess up, it's pretty much just as bad as with the acrylic paint. But I feel like it's somehow easier than just painting, but that could just be me. So again, I'm doing this in real time because I wanted to give you guys a realistic idea of how long something like this takes. But YouTube does have a lovely function that you can pop it into fast forward on the video, like 2 times speed, kind of speed it up a bit. But I don't know, leather working is so much fun to me, and for so long it was very intimidating because there's so many different techniques and so many different things that you can do and so many different things that you can use to get the you know, it's like there's infinite routes to the same end result. And as a beginner, I was like, just what do I do? So my heart's always with the beginner and kind of, you know, excruciatingly spelling out every little step. Because I don't want to leave something out that may seem obvious to, you know, somebody who's been doing it for a while, but as a beginner, they might be like, oh gosh, I messed up. So I'm going to come in and I'm actually scratching that with my finger. And what that's going to do is it breaks up the surface and will hopefully still let the stain penetrate. Okay. I really love this technique for Celtic knotwork. Just applying the Repel, and it really just, gosh, it's beautiful. It really shows off the natural beauty just of the knotwork designs and stuff. So now we're going through with the second coat. Going through over your work is going to ensure more even coverage. This technique is great. Right now I'm working on bracers. Whoa! See, that's what I was afraid of. Okay. So I'll do this. I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to see if I can't take this piece of blue jean with a bit of water on it and see if we can't buff that out. So we'll have a couple of spots to see and compare what happens. Oh man, I hope that doesn't mess it up too bad. Fortunately for this design, that's actually right where a rivet goes. But don't forget what I was saying. I'm currently working on, this is going to be a piece of armor for an arm. But these same techniques would work well for guitar straps, for jewelry, for belts, for, you know, just whatever you're working on. So I'm gonna stop letting my mind wander and focus more on my work. It really does feel a little bit though like painting with water, because there's no real, like, this is not, in the beginning stages, is not where this technique shines, because it looks like I haven't done anything. You know, but I'm coming through trying to do some work. Now also in some of my other videos, like my Wonder Woman costume accessories, I actually showed mixing Pearl-Ex mica pigments with acrylic resin or super sheen and painting it on this way, and I really like that because it keeps the glittery, shimmery pigments from getting everywhere or rubbing off. So that's really cool. You can also get some interesting effects by splattering this onto a piece and then airbrushing. It gives you a cool speckled effect. And I have some intentions of experimenting in the future with India ink, and mixing that in with the Resolene or Super Sheen and seeing how tinting it, like, I don't know, experimentation is always worth a little bit of a time investment just to see what happens, because you never know what you might come up with. Okay, so that is now completely painted. 2 coats and a couple of mess ups, which that'll be great, because I'd rather me mess up and y'all learn from it than, you know, y'all mess up and ruin your piece. You know, sometimes it can feel like we ruined our piece, but let's just see what happens. It might come out better than we could have originally planned. So I'm going to let this dry completely in front of a fan for about 2 hours, and then I will meet you guys back here for the next step. If you don't have it in front of a fan, I do recommend waiting overnight. Now also, just one more note that I wanted to make. I could have gone through and stained these with a very light colored stain, or like if I wanted to do like a blue water-based dye, I'd have painted it with the dye and then painted it with the super sheen, and then doing the antiquing, it would reserve that unaltered color. So that's another thing that can be really handy on projects like this too. So I'm gonna let it dry, then I'll meet you guys right back here. So it has been a few hours in front of a fan and we are completely dry, and at this point you can see there's not really much of a difference between where I applied the super sheen and the natural finish of the leather. So that's the kind of results I get even putting it on as thickly as I had. So today I'm going to be using a medium brown, the bottle's pretty messy, but it's an EcoFlow Gel Antique that I get at Handy Leather, and we're going to start by just mixing it up. And I am gloved up with some, what are these, nitrile gloves? You can use whatever you like, but I get these in bulk online, so they work out pretty well. And the medium brown, I don't know if this is standard, but it's pretty runny. So I have it globbed into my hand, and I am just spreading this around into all the little nooks and crannies, being quite generous. That's probably a bit too generous. Put some back into the bottle. Okay. But I really want all of the heavy waxy pigments of the antique gel to settle in nicely. And anything left over, I'm actually going to flip it and apply to the back. And you can see that actually gives it a really cool look on the back as well. And we're coming through. Really making sure it's all over the place. Okay. Making sure it's applied generously to the edges. There we go. And now I'm going to be using a clean pad of paper towel. I'm actually going to dirty it up a bit. And some spray water. And now I'm going to go through and buff the surface of our leather. Now you can see how that's giving us a couple of different tones. The medium brown is typically a pretty uniform. It's like a nice nut brown. But if I had used like their tan, the tan toned antique gel, we would have gotten a really nice different look. Like the tan has a really strong contrast between the antiqued color. Like the tone in the antiqued color, like you can see there. So it would have given us even more of a contrast with the repelled edging also. Now you can see I'm looking at the spots where I'd had some mess ups, and they seem to be doing pretty well. I feel like I could have gone through and done a third coat, and that would have given us a much stronger end result. But all in all, I am pretty pleased with that. And I feel like that is so much easier than, putting tape over the light parts, or just trying to be very careful to not cross-contaminate, because I mean, you see how messy I am. But being able to just go through and glob it all on, then even layering it on and wiping more of it off, I feel like that super sheen did a stellar job. In the future I'll probably use 3 layers, but I'm pleased with this result. And that is how I use Repels. Also, once it dries the rest of the way, I think it will show more contrast as well. So I'm going to let this one dry completely, and then I'll meet you guys back here to see the final result. So here you can see some different examples of the Repels worked with antique gels. This was the dark brown, this one here, and I feel like it got the best result, and that was with about 4 layers of the super sheen, paint it on. Like I paint on a layer, let it dry, paint on a layer, let it dry. And the goal is to, whenever I'm applying on the layer, it will no longer give the leather a darker color because it's not soaking in, it's just stacking on itself. And so again, you can see there's not really a, you know, much more of a waxy sheen on it than what there is on the rest of the leather. And I still haven't, you know, put on my finish or anything yet, so that's a way to do it. Hey y'all, thanks so much for hanging out with me during this video. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave them down below. Feel free to check out my different social media accounts. You can tag me on Instagram or post things on my Facebook wall. That way, if you want to show me your work or if you followed along with one of my tutorials, I love being able to get to see what you guys do. So also, if you enjoy my free tutorials and would like to support the creation of more of them, as well as participate in my behind the scenes access, digital download content where you can get your templates, well, you're not for free because you pledge, but you don't have to pay for them on my Etsy. So that's a perk. And then we also do monthly craft crates, which are a lot of fun. But we have all sorts of stuff that you don't even have to be a pledger for going on over on our Patreon. So be sure to check that out. And I don't know if I already said this, but there will be a list of the tools and materials used in this video, and those are affiliate links. So anything that you guys purchase through those links greatly benefits our company, and I really appreciate y'all doing that. But so yeah, I think that's it. I'm gonna get back to work, but until next time, y'all, happy crafting. Bye.